Where are you from? I reply, Africa. That continent is a woman that everyone tries to define, but no one can tie her. That is even reflected in international debate. Bono wants aid and easterly trade. The Economist says it's rising, yet others say individual countries are stagnating. I know that Hausa is different from Bafia and we cannot all be put in the same basket, but the ignorance I witness when I get into details tires me. Going from generic to the specificity is my way of avoiding senseless comments, showing me that racism is not unidirectional. This Nigerian boy snaps back, that's not possible, you're white. Yes, but I was born from a family that unexpectedly 60 years ago flew from north to south. A Moroccan woman, the least French man I know, mixed together, unable to fully fit in their respective societies, stretching the boundaries of cultural identity, had me, who grew up among people of different nationalities, all united by Nushi, a language combining everything from Jula to French. Africa is not black. Beyond the colors, we have similar realities. It's the little girls who want to be like Beyonce, the crazy man on the street who follows you. It's also the balafon at the wedding, the Mami Wata stories, the henna drawings on your hands. You are married. Sometimes it's an advice from a more experienced mind. It's the young entrepreneurs, those trouble-making saviors, distancing themselves from institutions. They find solutions. In 2011, it was a community getting together to give people back their dignity, idealists who believed that Facebook could provide. People, can you hear me? When you see war, hunger, and corruption, I see them too. And like you, I ache for the dynamic man who wished to rise now amputated, for that president who is being blamed for parents. Because what do you answer a 12-year-old asking, Maman, why are we leaving home again? But beyond the media's way of blaming tribalism and underdevelopment, I recognize the need for education. People are never on time, but that's because of traffic jam, the lack of electricity lowers productivity. You see a Lamborghini parked in a city with the majority living below poverty. Paradoxical. Continent of all liberty. Yes, there was a genocide in Rwanda, instabilities in Tunisia, terrorism in Nigeria, but in Senegal, Wad was not allowed to run a third time. Kenya had peaceful elections. Zambia is reducing poverty, and Ghana launched Hope City. What the media tells you is the single story, and Adichie rightly said, the problem with the single story is it creates stereotypes, and stereotypes are not wrong. They're not untrue, but they're incomplete. They make one story become the only story. TEDx asked me to speak about my difficulties, and besides the over-highlighted weak institution, corrupted government, and limited access to funding, there is intrinsic fear of the unknown, betting on unbounded potential that only few can see with nowhere to refer, can be scary. Struggling and pitching obstacles take the face of a mother, hiding your computer, asking, are you addicted? Misunderstanding why for the past 2 weeks her daughter has been spending 17 hours a day staring at a screen. A father, upset by his child's apparent immaturity. How will she ever succeed if she's not revising? Friends that find you obsessive, professors that ask you to focus more, strangers that rightly label you over-dynamic. I try to close my eyes not to see the receptive individual, the group of people connected, like-minded, the philanthropist and the venture capitalist, Adina and Waleya, Jokolab and Akendewa. But I read on Twitter that I should never let my schooling interfere with my education, so no. I will not use statistics and false rhetoric to tell you that Africa is rising, but I hope that this new narrative is showing you that individual countries are moving. It's a bit stressful to come after Sarah Kay, so bear with me. I'm going to go into a presentation and so talk about this community and the power this community has in the post-electoral crisis in Ivory Coast. And so it's elaborating on that part of the poem, how we try to give people back their dignity, if anything. Just why I'm doing this is because there's this new trend that talks about ICT for development, MDG, empowerment, but what do they actually mean? If you haven't experienced those words on the ground, they're very vague. So I'm just going to try to give you a bit of meaning, a story, keep it a bit personal. And to have some context is, we had a situation when we had two presidents. He's the actual one, he was the old one who refused to leave power. And Ivorians are very funny people. So he was the president of the Republic of Bunkeristan because he was stuck in a bunker. And he was the president of the Republic of Gulf Hotel because he was stuck in the hotel. And it was just, when was the Republic of Ivory Coast ever going to come out? And at that time, I was in France for my Easter break, and of course, we went skiing with my family, and what happens is, first day of ski, I ruptured my ACL. And my sister, she can never let me have the spotlight, so she has to do the same thing to the same knee the same day. And we look happy, but it was really painful. And when you're in pain, you sit down. And in my case, you read articles, and you feel powerless. So what happened is, I wrote a letter to those people that keep writing those articles, and I got it published. Stupidly enough, I left my name there, which was very, very idiotic of me. In a situation like this, like, hide your identity. Thank God nothing happened though. And then reading more and reading more, I saw posts from friends about this group that's called Info Abidjan, that tried to organize a political movement for what they call the opening of humanitarian corridors. So it's getting a group of people, doesn't matter where they're from, on which political side, and just getting them to go and ask for one thing, and this is the opening of humanitarian corridor. And these are reflected by those images. In a certain area of Abidjan, my mother needs insulin, we don't care where she's from. She needs it, that's it. So I limped with my bad leg to one of those events, 1 hour away from where I lived, and I saw people there. I saw human beings, I saw young people together, believing in the unity of the nation, and as cliche as that sounds, it gave me even more strength to continue what I was about to do. That's what my Facebook started looking at, and I apologize to all my friends. But then So I started reading about those various groups and joined all of them. And for about 48 hours, I just looked around to understand the dynamic and to put some logic into what I was doing. And so the first step I took after observing those people is, okay, I'm going to try to make a list of where people are from. So if someone posts something, I'm going to put their location down. So if someone asks for help later on, I'm going to connect them. So my first task was connecting people. After 2 days, I was like, that's not enough, I can't follow through, I need to do more. So I contacted some of the admins of the various groups, and eventually I started working with them. And working with them meant updating lists of cases that were being solved, of awaiting cases, making lists of priorities, elaborating databases of open pharmacies and open gas stations and supermarkets, etc. And a lot of it was also the barter system, which was quite interesting. It's not sustainable in a non-crisis situation, but at that time, it was quite a funny idea, and it worked well. We didn't sit down for it or anything, though. It was a lady who went to the market, and she wanted to buy food, and she got there, and she was about to pay in cash, of course, at that time, and that woman that was selling her the things asked her, actually, do you not have credit phone that you can transfer to me? Because all the credit phone places were closed and banks were closed, so people could not, even if they wanted, buy it online. And it started like this, so it allowed us to connect the diaspora even more to what we were doing, and getting even more help in a way, getting more results out of what we're doing. And then delegating tasks so that we could focus on bigger cases. And it's strange to talk about it this way because they're men and women, but there are some cases that were big, 3,500, 1,000, 1,935 people, big cases. And now I'm going to tell you about the results and talk to you about the big case that I had to deal with. Overall, we helped 183 families. It ranged from people needing insulin, like I told you, to women needing to give birth, so getting a doctor on the phone to tell them what to do. We had gunshots, wounded people, transporting people, and it was all based on trust, and that's what, it's really hard to replicate it. And then we had I dealt with 1,935 Malian citizens. Why Malian is because anyone that wasn't Ivorian at the time was considered a militian. So they were hiding, And it was 1,600 men, 184 children, 9 pregnant women, one of which was about to give birth. Turned out that we did have 3 new babies at the end as a result. One was hers and 2 others somewhere else. But it was, I don't think there's any Malian officials that I did not contact that time. We bombarded every single person you can imagine that had some links with Mali at the time. It was insane. And then when you're working, you know, it was 2 weeks, it was 2 intense weeks, 17 hours a day, like I was saying, and everyone thought I was crazy. My mom came up, she's like, Sarah, like, do you really think you're gonna save the world on Facebook? Like, seriously? No, I'm just trying to, you know, do what I can. And when you finish, you realize that there was a bigger picture to this. It didn't just, you know, miraculously appear. 2 names kept coming up, Akendewa, which is an NGO I work with now, and Ivory Social, which was actually the name of the initiative. They made a movie that I was going to show you, but technical difficulties prevented that. So just to tell you a bit more, it was launched by Akendewa, and it was a call center in Ghana, volunteers in Ivory Coast patrolling the different areas, calling the people in Ghana. They were putting it on Twitter. From Twitter, it got transmitted to Facebook, and from Facebook, we had actions. That, as simple as that sounds. Issues, a lot of issues actually. 4 main one is we had a lot of scams. We had a lot of people coming to us like every 24 hours. I had 8,000 people under my responsibility. Give me food, give me money, do this. And it's hard because to know whether or not it's real. Because on one hand, you're like, okay, if it's 8,000 people and I'm not helping them, like, am I gonna live with this? But what if he's lying? And we figured out that a bunch of them were lying. So what we're doing for that is just trying to have a flow of information between the various groups and telling people, okay, we had this some sort of internal red list of scammers. A lot of internal conflicts. It was before my exams. And what do? Do I study for my exams and get good grades? Or do I do this and end up getting a 2-2 in first year? I chose to get the 2-2, but I would do it again. A lot of communication issues. One of the main problems, the strength of this model is the fact that because it's so decentralized, there's no clear hierarchy, information flew really rapidly. But the problem with that is people were not really communicating. Like, I wasn't telling straight away, oh, I'm doing this, don't deal with that case. So a lot of people, like this woman, she got 21 calls before she actually could get the blood that she needed to get her baby, like to go to the surgery. And that's one of the things that, retrospectively, when we did an analysis of the situation, we tried to make sure that when we design a model for crisis management, we keep that strength but overcome that weakness. We haven't gotten there yet, because we tried with Mali, so I think a lot of you know what's happening in Mali, and we tried to generate Mali social, or a Malian citizen came up to us and said, okay, I saw what you did with the NGO and we want the same system, so can you put in place a platform for us? Because there's like all of those tech guys that just programs and, you know, all those things. And it wasn't applicable. We managed to help a few people, but nothing significant because the situation wasn't the same and the needs weren't the same. So it's again something that some of the things we're now thinking about in designing our standardized model in a way. And then I have dreams. I'm young, I go to uni, but I want to empower people to find solutions for their community first. Yes, it's good to dream for like the world and dream big, but scale down first. I want to create opportunities for young Africans to be able to climb the social ladder, because it's an accepted fact in the West, but it's not something that we have in our countries. I want to raise awareness through education, and I want people to dream again. I want them to be able to come on a stage like this one and tell you their stories. I'm tired of hearing that Africa is rising, that we're taking policies for young African women to empower them. I want those people to come and to tell you guys they're making those decisions, or anyone that is, what they need. And you do that through education, and you do that through being on the ground and talking to them and asking them. And how to get there. I don't have all the solutions, but so far from the journey I've had, I've identified a few key things, and I think it's a lot about following your instincts. It's grabbing every single opportunities you have. I'm not saying be stupid, like have some sort of strategy in what you're doing, but when people present opportunities to you, don't be lazy and just go the conventional way. Just grab the opportunities, and retrospectively, it makes sense. It makes sense to me. I mean, I ruptured my ligament, and look at me now. And then it's about listening to people. Listening and listening and listening and listening and listening all the time to understand what they want from you. It's a lot of work, a lot of passion, a lot of luck, and a lot of open-mindedness. And finally, it's a lot of innovation. It's about having an idea or having an ideal, going for it, failing, meeting people to fail with, failing even more, and then eventually getting something out of it. And the thing is, the beauty of it is at the end, you're going to be so open-minded that you're not going to think it was a failure anymore. And then finally, I'm just going to leave you to ponder what role do you play and what role can new technologies play in redefining your community and your country. Thank you very much.